You know, when you think of ways people get rich, it's not super often that you think of fruit. You think of investors, celebrities, politicians, but how is it possible that someone who was able to build an empire that literally took over a nation by completely changing an industry that had no reason for change? If you've ever had a banana, and I'm fairly certain you have, it's very likely that your life has been touched by Sam Zemurray.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of obsessed with this guy recently that no one's heard of, and I think it's just crazy that no one's heard of him because he probably has one of the craziest success stories that I've ever heard. I mean, this guy went from a poor Russian immigrant to owning almost half of Guatemala. That's not a joke either. His company actually owned 43% of the land in Guatemala. And after weeks of researching and obsessing about this guy, I've realized that all he did was follow a couple simple rules throughout his life that helped him get to this point, that helped him become the person that he is. And I want to lay them out in this video. So I'm going to stop rambling. This is the story of Sam the Banana Man.
Yeah.
So Sam Zemurray moved to the United States when he was 14, and he worked for his uncle at a store until he was 17. And this is where his life completely changed the first time that he visited the docks. It's really genius what he did, but before I tell you what he did, I think it's important that you know a little bit about the history of bananas. In the late 1800s, the banana trade was fairly new in America. Few Americans had ever seen a banana, and even fewer of them had actually tasted one, so it was considered a strange, sort of exotic luxury at the time. And pretty much all of them were transported from the mid-Americas, so it was a hassle to bring them here. Not only that, but harvesting them was dangerous. A lot of times there were scorpions that would hide in between banana bunches and come to America on giant cargo ships. The point is that it was not a pretty business. Once the bananas were shipped into the United States, they were sorted into 3 different piles. The green ones lasted the longest. They were easy to sell and sold at the highest price. The yellow ones lasted less, but they were still sold, mostly to local store owners for less money. But the ripe ones went soft and started to smell in just under a week. They were pretty much considered worthless and usually sold at a huge loss. The craziest part is that ripe bananas made up around 15% of all cargo ships, and this is where the young Sam's genius really shined. Sam saw a gap in the market. He saw an opportunity. He saw that these big companies were moving slow, and he saw that as a small company, he could move much quicker and faster. He could do things that they couldn't, and he was about to use this to his advantage. So he went straight up to the cargo ship, went to the guy selling the bananas, and asked if he could buy all of their ripe bananas. I think this is just so powerful because imagine you just got to the United States, you're about to start selling, and some 17-year-old kid comes up to you, and he's like, "Hey, can I buy all of your worst product that no one wants?" I mean, I for sure would think that I just scammed some 17-year-old kid who doesn't know anything about business, but that's the point. Everyone thought that Sam was crazy, and in a sense he was, but in reality he wasn't. He had simply found a gap in the market. So when you're looking at an industry that you want to conquer, that you want to take over, take a second and look for something obvious that people are just not doing, and do it. People will call you crazy. People will think you're crazy. But if you take the actions, those same people will look at your success and afterwards say, "Why did I not think of doing this myself?" And this is exactly what happened to Sam. So he had just bought an entire shipment of ripe bananas and a boxcar on the Illinois Central Railroad. Now keep in mind that he actually spent his life savings on this, so if he didn't sell the bananas in under a week, he would have literally lost his life savings. And we'll come back to this point in a bit. A bit of a crazy story is that he didn't even have enough money for a bed, so he ended up riding in the boxcart with his bananas, which is not only dangerous because of the scorpions, but it also just shows you how committed he is. But here on the train is where major problems started to arise, and the first one was that the train was slow. There were constant stops all along the way, and this would mean that it would take days to get to some of these cities. And not only that, but once you get to these cities, you then actually have to bring the bananas to the shops and sell them there. The way that Sam went about this problem is really genius. At one of the stops, he got off the train and actually telegraphed ahead to let local merchants know to meet at the cargo yard before he arrived. And this worked. This worked because he figured out a way to do what the big guys couldn't. He was able to use speed as a factor. Not just the speed of the train, but the speed of the information by using telegraphs. You see this time and time again throughout history where leaders are obsessed with getting faster and faster information. I mean, the Rothschilds even owned their own mail carrier system. The point is that whenever you can use speed towards your advantage, you must take that advantage. You must be faster, or otherwise your competitors will. Sam was able to sell all the bananas in just under the week and made profits because he bought the bananas at such a low price. He had figured out a formula. And this is the third rule he followed. Once he had a formula that worked, he perfected it. He repeated this process over and over again. He would first arrive to the docks, buy all the right bananas, put them on a box cart, alert local merchants, and sell his bananas from the cargo yard. He did this so much that he actually became a brand. People started to call him Sam the Banana Man. This small-time Russian immigrant had made a name for himself, but it was still only the beginning. Sam's name started to reach some of the bigger fruit companies until it reached the biggest one, the United Fruit Company. By 1930, they had reached a price war, so the United Fruit Company made him an offer, and they eventually acquired Sam's company, Guatemala, and Sam was made one of the largest shareholders of the United Fruit Company. He had made it, and he retired successfully for 1.5 years, until the United Fruit Company started failing. There's something that happens to most large businesses where once they take over a market, they become lazy. They start to cut corners, and this is exactly what started to happen. Zemurray saw this and got back to work. He got back to business. He was elected director in charge of operations and then became president. And this is where I think, once again, that his genius really started to shine. Sam had this philosophy when he took over the company that's well expressed with this quote. I realized that the greatest mistake the United Fruit management had made was to assume it could run its activities in many tropical countries from an office on the 10th floor of a Boston office building. Sam realized that if you want to know what's truly going on, you can't lose the connection with the people who are working for you at all levels. Everyone has a role to play. It's very similar to the mentality of Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos actually made his entire team work a couple hours a week on customer service just so that everyone knew the problems that were happening to the base customer. And that way everyone was on the same level. Sam Zemurray took it a step further. Once he became president of the company, he spent months simply walking around warehouses by the docks, talking to warehouse managers, trying to figure out how to speed up the process. And this worked. One of the biggest ones he found was that the cargo boat captains were actually given orders to paddle through part of the Gulf of Mexico to save gas, but it made the travel time slower and the bananas ripen faster. Sam immediately realized that he could just make the money back by getting to the place he wanted to get to faster, by simply selling the bananas and moving the boats faster. I think this part is especially cool because he's just doing what he's always done, just on a much larger scale now. He's still just perfecting his systems, he's using speed as a factor, and he's looking for gaps to where he can beat his competitors. And for these reasons, the United Fruit Company was back on top in just a couple of years. And this is all thanks to Sam. But I think there's one factor that we haven't talked about. One thing that allowed him to do everything that he did throughout his life, that allowed him to have all these other factors. And that is, he was always all in on himself. He had 100% belief in himself at all points, and it is shown in his actions. I mean, this is a guy that literally spent his entire life savings on a business idea that could have literally gone bad in 5 days. There's actually a crazy story of him wanting to buy land in Honduras, but he couldn't because his partner was not on board. So he ended up buying all of his partner's shares, but the bank wouldn't give him any more money. So he ended up going to loan sharks and the mobs. He was literally betting his life on the idea that he would make the money back in the future. That's how much belief he had in himself. And you see this in everything he did, whether it was running around on boat docks or harvesting in mid-America or even dealing with executives in the company when he took over. He was always all in everything that he did, and I think this is a trait that we can all do more of. This is a trait that we can all apply in our businesses. This is a trait that we all need to have 100% belief in ourselves, to bet on ourselves. The gamble of not taking this bet is one that you do not want to take. These 5 rules are basic. They really are. They're simple. So if you can just apply them in your life and in your business with 100% belief in yourself, I see no reason why you can't take over the world, even if it is with a fruit company. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that video. I know it was a little bit different from what I normally make. I kind of like making it though, and I was wondering if you wanted me to make more of these, if you want me to go back to the other type of content. I'm just trying to find direction. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you do like this type of video, let me know what other type of people you look up to or are interested in or want to know more about, or just crazy stories from history. Thank you guys for all the support. It's a dream of mine. For me, it's not a matter of if it'll happen, it's a matter of when it'll happen, blowing up this channel. So I appreciate you guys for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Hi. Chiquita banana, and I've come to say bananas have to ripen in a certain way. And when they're flecked with brown and have a golden hue, bananas taste the best and are the best for you.